take a video tour through time to Ellis Island.
I remember about 6 o'clock in the morning from on board the ship. It says, land ahoy. You know, the lookout had said, land ahoy. Everybody rushed up on deck, and I saw the island coming up out of the ocean, and as we proceeded in, there's the Statue of Liberty. Well, everybody knew what the Statue of Liberty was. I mean, there it was. Oh, it was exciting. Everybody cheered, America! America, my God, everybody's yelling, crying, kissing, and you weren't aware that this was a historical moment, but it was.
They came from all over, Greece, Italy, Poland, Sweden, Germany, all destined to start a new life in America. For millions of immigrants who came to this country between 1892 and 1924, their life in America began in New York's harbor, in a place called Ellis Island. Over the years, Ellis Island would come to symbolize the hopes, dreams, and the fears of many who would pass through its rooms, anticipating the fate that loomed ahead of them. There were other gateways for immigrants throughout the country, such as San Francisco's Angel Island and ports in Boston, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. But Ellis Island was the busiest inspection depot.
It calmed very well, and thank God for finally we arrived at Ellis Island. It was a big, big place with all windows all around. We sat on the floor, waiting for my father to come.
Ellis Island was for most immigrants the first and most crucial stop in their journey to various points throughout America. Here, they would be offered or denied entry into a land that would be for many their permanent home.
I remember the Great Hall, and I remember how we had to stay online, you know, in order to see the doctor, because many people were referred to the doctor for one reason or another. And they examined me, and they said that the infection had been cleared thanks to the doctors on board. So, of course, that was another tremendous high to think that I could stay and that we could see Father, you know, we could be united with him after 6 years.
Once they arrived inside the main building, immigrants were examined almost immediately. There were several doctors. One checked for scalp disease, one for eye diseases, one for heart conditions. On busy days, doctors had about 6 seconds to detect more than 60 possible ailments. Those who were singled out for illness were marked in chalk, E for eyes, S for senility, H for heart, etc. These men, marked with an X, were checked for mental impairment.
The doctors were seated at a long table with a basin full of potassium chloride. And you had to stand in front of them, and you had to reveal yourself right there in front of everyone.
Those who didn't pass the medical examinations were sent to a hospital in another building, depending on their ailment. Children often had infectious diseases, such as measles, and had to be quarantined. Some of the new arrivals had fallen sick during their passage to America, or became ill at Ellis Island. Records show that more than 3,500 people died on Ellis Island, many of them children. The majority of immigrants, however, passed their examinations and quickly moved on to the registry room, where they sat on wooden benches, waiting to be questioned.
The place was filled. There were people in similar circumstances who had their papers looked at and reprocessed. There were others who had been there for weeks, and some for months, some as much as a year. And there was a feeling of desperation because we had no idea when we would get out, and neither did the other people.
Interpreters of all languages were stationed near the inspectors' desks, ready to translate questions and answers. Having to explain what kind of job one had was tricky. Labor laws excluded immigrants who were promised jobs, so that they couldn't take away American jobs by offering their services for lower wages. Immigrants had to prove that they were healthy and competent enough to work, but a job couldn't be waiting for them. After 1909, immigrants were expected to have $25 and their transportation tickets to their new destinations. If they were over 16, they were also required to pass literacy tests in their native languages. When it was running smoothly, the inspection process took 3 to 5 hours. For those who were detained for health and legal reasons, the building became more like a camp, sometimes with 2,000 immigrants speaking many different languages. Some of the detainees had to appear before a board of special inquiry, where they were further questioned. Reasons for appearing before the board ranged from ill health to violating contract labor laws. New immigrants were not provided legal counsel and sometimes had to remain on Ellis Island for months. 2% of the immigrants were deported. Once they completed their Ellis Island odyssey, those who had permission to land were waved through by inspectors. They were hurried down a flight of stairs that led to the New York ferry pier or to the railway ticket office. In 1990, the island was reopened as the Ellis Island Immigration Museum.